The Gartland Group presents Taxes, the IRS, and You with your host, Bernie Gartland. Taxes, the IRS, and You is a different kind of show that'll help you solve your tax problems. As former Deputy Attorney General of the state of Delaware and with over 25 years of experience as sole practitioner in both Delaware and California, the name Bernie Gartland has become synonymous with taxes. And now your host, Bernie Gartland.
Hey everybody, Bernie Gartland. The name of the program is Taxes, the IRS, and You, and it's sponsored by and a production of the Gartland Group. You see us every single Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and we talk about many different areas like trusts, like IRAs, like real estate, like bookkeeping, and at one program we put together the Gartland Group to tell you about the one-stop shop and why we have American Tax Centers and why we have Gartland Law and why we have the Griffin Bookkeeping. That was very interesting. I enjoyed doing that with my fellow practitioners here at the Gartland Group. From time to time, we get out of the tax problem solving area, although I don't think that anything gets you out of the tax problem solving area. But I have a lot of clients that have had foreclosures. I have a lot of clients that call me up to see whether or not they should do a short sale or not do a short sale. What are the implications? What is a 1099-C? What is a 1099-A? And how does it affect them? And should they sell their house? Should they buy a house through a short sale? So I've asked somebody that I've known for a lot of years. Lori Bowers is here with us today. And Lori Bowers is a broker and a real estate agent. And I've asked her to kind of let everybody know what's going on at this time and what are the 3, 4, 5, 6 areas that you would be interested in if you own a house or you want to buy a house. So, folks, I want to introduce you to Lori Bowers. Hello, Lori, and say hello to the folks.
Hi, everyone.
And give us a little background about yourself so that the folks out there know who you are and what you're the Lori Bowers Group, and
right.
and you help people buy and you help people sell. And what is your background in your real estate background?
Okay, I'm Lori Bowers. I have an office in Old Town La Quinta, the Lori Bowers Group. I've been in real estate for 12 years. During that time, I have sold over 2,400 homes. I'm a real estate broker, so I specialize in, just like you, Bernie, helping people solve issues in real estate, buying, selling, investing, leasing. Anybody that has questions or concerns, I'm happy to do, like you, a free analysis and help them through various options that can solve their concerns and their problems or questions with real estate.
And real estate is a very fluctuating concept. I mean, even in the last few years, I mean, all the ups and downs and the foreclosures and the difficulty that the homeowners have had in getting to know who really has the paper on their home, and it has been so convoluted. And every time I get a client in and say, you know, I've talked to about 5 different people at my lender, and they keep saying we got to start all over again. So what are the areas that you like to specialize in your representing people, either buying or selling? And do you get involved a lot in short sales?
Yes, I have been a short sale expert since this all began. When the downturn first started in 2006, I chose to specialize in short sales. The reason was a lot of reasons. First of all, there's less impact to the people's credit that are doing short sales versus a foreclosure or walking away from the property. I also felt it would help our community because when people are living in a home and a home is not abandoned, they're more taken care of, and the people also will help preserve property values for their neighbors. So the short sales that I do, I process myself. I don't hire a third party, and I've become really, really good at this. I've processed hundreds of short sales over the last 6 years.
So you're a hands-on broker.
I am. Yeah. We also still have over 30% of the homes in this exact area where the owners owe more on the home than what the home is worth.
Right. And that's why you get into the short sales, okay? And what is the market as we speak? What is it presently? Is it going down? Is it staying steady? Is it going up? What do you expect? Because you work with this 24/7.
Yes, I have been really happy. Since last March, we have leveled out and even seen a little bit of a rise. I was telling people before that time that I felt like if you look at a clock, like we were at 5:30. Now I feel we've gone up to 7:30. So now is a great time for people to invest in real estate, or if they haven't had a home for a few years, let's say 3 years or longer, most people are good to go to buy a home again. And the good news is the prices are still low and the interest rates are low. We have a near perfect real estate market for buyers right now.
For buyers, yeah. What about sellers?
Sellers are still feeling the pain, Bernie.
Yeah, I know. And, it's interesting because, and I told you that I was going to mention this on the program today, which is absolutely true, and that's why you're here, is that I remember you telling me a long time ago, even in a bad market where real estate people were really taking hits on it, that you weren't earning as much as you were earning years ago. And you were not running out just to close cases to make, this amount of dollars. Because you had told me, you said, Bernie, I pride myself on never putting somebody in a house that they shouldn't be in. And that, I say, that speaks volumes. As a matter of fact, as you know, one of my relatives you helped out. And the interesting thing is that, by the way, on that, to show you a little bit up in the Cove, she bought a house that in 2005 sold for $375,000. It was a short sale through the Bank of America, and they accepted the first bid for $155,000, and they closed. I understand that in the area now, the kind of houses that she's in is selling for over $225,000. So the market in certain areas going up, and if you buy low at a short sale and then you put air conditioners in or a new roof on or crown molding or whatever, it increases the value of the house. And so we need to talk about what are the 4 or 5 different concepts if somebody is upside down in their house. And if you could quickly just mention them, because it looks like we're going to be able to take a break in about 1 minute. So let's, on the other side, let's talk about in depth. But what are the 3, 4, 5, 6 concepts when you're dealing with mortgages that are upside down? Okay,
there are 6 options that most people have. They can do loan modification, principal reduction, deed in lieu of foreclosure, foreclosure, short sale, or keep the home. Keep the home. Okay. And we're going to talk about all of these other concepts as soon as we get back from our commercial break, because every single person has to understand about what loan modification is, principal reduction, foreclosure, short sale, and keeping your property. Because if you want to keep your property, if you're upside down on the property, there's concepts that you have to introduce them to. Now, I can talk about a Chapter 13 reorganization that you can put your arrearages in and save your home through the payment of the arrearages through a Chapter 13. And that is one of the areas that we can utilize to keep somebody's home. So when we get back, we're going to talk about all these concepts. You're going to fill all the folks in on them. So get set, because we're coming back to you. Thank you. Thank you, folks. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. I'm Bernie Gartland of the Gartland Group. I want to introduce you to the CEO of Griffin Bookkeeping, Kathy Satter.
Thank you, Bernie. Are you a small business owner wanting to increase your cash flow? Or would you like to get your books, your personal or your business accounts organized? We can help you. Griffin Bookkeeping has helped many businesses, large and small, organize their books and, quite simply, made their lives better.
Let us put control back in your life and have that control give you a future. Hey everybody, Bernie Gartland. Name of the program is Taxes, the IRS, and You, and it's presented and produced by the Gartland Group. And with us today is Lori Bowers of the Lori Bowers Group. She is a real estate agent and broker, and we're talking about what's going on in the investment field for real estate, and what is going on with short sales, and what's going on with people who are upside down. And Lori, before we went on break, you identified certain areas that we're going to discuss right now. One is loan modification, principal reduction, foreclosure, short sales, or keeping your property. Now, why don't you take them one by one? And let's talk about loan modification. What exactly is loan modification? What is the success rate? How is it accomplished, or how is it not accomplished?
Okay, a loan modification is a solution for people that aren't too far upside down in their home. They can go to their current lender, talk to the current lender about lowering their interest rate, lowering their payment, so that they can pay less each month as a way of staying in their home.
Okay. And what's the success rate on that?
It varies. Right now, the success rate is not too good. Banks really aren't doing much for loan modification.
Okay, and the loan modification is for payment, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, not for principal reduction.
That's the next one we're going to talk about.
And very interesting is that when people come in to see me and they're saying, yeah, I'm going to go for a loan modification, so they got me through the preliminary stages, but they keep putting me over to somebody else, and I say, well, wait a minute, let me ask you a question. Are you saying they're going to reduce your loan down? Oh, no. They're going to. They're just going to lower my payment down. Well, I always tell people, and you may differ than me. I said that's not a loan modification. That's a payment modification. But you still owe the same amount. But now you have a second area called principal reduction.
Correct.
Tell us what that is, because that's different than loan modification.
Yeah, principal reduction has not been very successful in California. It's more in areas of the country where the price of homes is much less, where they've like if someone bought a house for $80,000 in Alabama and it's now worth $40,000, they can give them a principal reduction to $50,000 or $60,000, and the bank's only throwing a few thousand in there. That works pretty well.
Okay.
In California, principal reduction has not done very well. Very few people have gotten principal reduction. Some have, but not very many, because most people need at least $100,000 to $200,000 in principal reductions. And up until this point, the banks haven't been real favorable on just relieving them of that amount of debt and then still leaving them in the house. I know this doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense, but that's where we are.
Well, you're talking about the principal reduction. About 3 or 4 years ago, when the bankruptcy courts recognized the extent of the problem of people in their homes, that they could not afford the value to loan. Okay, somebody has a house that they owe $500,000 on, it's worth $200,000, and they're still making payments as if it was $500,000. There was a movement afoot that would allow the bankruptcy judges to conduct an appraisal, to get all the proper information. There's nothing underhanded about this, that they were going to, through their ability to reduce the value of the property down to the loan of the property down to what the value was. That was swept under the table. I think the politicians do not want bankruptcy judges to have as much authority as the bankruptcy judges want to have to help people. So we never got through Chapter 7. We never got through a modification of appraised value to loan value. So that was out. Now, foreclosure. Okay, so we got loan modification, we got principal reduction. Now, what happens in a foreclosure? What are the concepts of that?
The foreclosure is where the people quit making the payments. Basically, it's people that do nothing about it, and the bank will come in and foreclose. One of the biggest issues with this, because there have been so many distressed properties across the country, and particularly in California, that people would do a bankruptcy, name their house in the bankruptcy to do a foreclosure, and the bank would never foreclose. So the people are still liable years later for the HOA dues, whether or not they're living in the house. And they still month after month are having property taxes accumulate, dings on their credit.
Right.
It is quite an issue for foreclosures. For some people, it's worked out okay. The bank forecloses right away. One of the biggest things on right away, let's say 6 to 8 months is considered right away. One of the biggest issues with foreclosure, though, is it dings your credit a lot worse than a short sale.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely. And in some cases, it's even worse on your credit than bankruptcy. But let me give you some insight in some of the people that we've had here that I've interviewed with, is that the banks, for some odd reason, the same thing, and I think a lot of it had to do with the politics and what was going on with the Attorney General office, with the different banks and the lending institutions of some of the things they weren't doing that was really kosher. And what happens is that they can't get the loan modifications through, so the banks say, okay, we're going to enter into foreclosure, okay? And meanwhile, they're discussing a loan modification, but then the bank issues foreclosure. And it had to go through an entire process. There's something called a non-judicial foreclosure in the state of California and a judicial foreclosure. Most banks are doing non-judicial foreclosures. And they stretch it out and they stretch it out. They may send all the notices, but for some strange reason, they don't give a sale date. So here the people are in the house. They're not making any payments. They come in to see me and they say, when's my house going to be sold? And I say, well, it depends on the market, because if the bank forecloses on that house, the bank is responsible. In California, you know, they have to keep the property up because the banks were foreclosing and the place was in total disarray. Now the government says, you know, if you're going to foreclose, you own that house and you have to keep the property up. So now they're responsible for maintenance, gardening work, and liability, et cetera. So a lot of times they're letting people stay there. And then you get into an interesting, new I think it's going to be in Webster's dictionary now, a new concept called cash for keys. Do you understand what?
Yes, they've had cash for keys for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And recently, over the last 6 months, less and less people have been getting cash for keys.
Yeah, they go to foreclosure and they just say, get out.
Yes.
Okay, and they do a 3-day notice to quit. Okay, and the foreclosure is normally if you just sit back. You know, the interesting thing is about if you're sitting back and just waiting for them to foreclose on, you're not paying your monthly payment, and you can save that money to go someplace else, because if the bank is not making any deal with you for principal reduction, then you stop. People say, I'm not paying, you know, for $550,000 loan for $200,000 house. I'll just stay here as long as I possibly can stay here. And then, you know, they may stay there for a year. I've seen people stay in places for a year. And one person, 2 years, maybe 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, but they can stay there. And then on occasion, they do get cash for keys. $3,500, the last guy that I saw got cash for keys. So you got loan modification, principal reduction, and foreclosure. So far, nothing seems to be working. And what we need to talk about is short sale. So in our next segment, we're going to talk about a short sale and keeping property, okay, which is a last resort. So, folks, when we get back, Lori does a lot of short sales, and when we get back, we're going to tell you the ins and outs of short sales and how they were accomplished, and how you do not have to pay the amount owed that you have on your mortgage if you do a short sale, and it may help your credit a little bit. So, folks, when we come back, Lori's going to go into the short sale concept, and then I'm going to add some little concepts about 1099-Cs, A's, and also bankruptcy. So we'll be right back. Hi folks, I'm Bernie Gartland, and I'm so proud to introduce you to the Gartland Group. Do you have a need to have your current or prior year tax returns prepared? Is the IRS knocking at your door and you need legal representation? Do you need professional bookkeeping services? The Gartland Group can help. Let us put control back in your life and have that control give you a future.
Call today for a free consultation.
Hi folks, I'm Bernie Gartland of the Gartland Group. I want to introduce you to our tax expert of that group, Brian Bauer, who's also the CEO and enrolled agent of that group, American Tax Centers.
Well, you know, Bernie, American Tax Centers prides itself on doing your tax returns accurately. As a former tax auditor with the state of California for over 20 years, who better to handle your tax audit?
Let us put control back in your life and have that control give you a future.
Call today for a free consultation.
Hey everybody, Bernie Gartland. Name of the program is Taxes, the IRS, and You. And today we're doing something a little bit different. Lori Bowers from the Lori Bowers Group, she's a broker, and she deals with the ins and outs of real estate every single day. And I know Lori personally, and I got to tell you, she does it 32 hours a day, 9 days a week, quite frankly. So we've covered loan modification, principal reduction, foreclosure, and now we're going to talk about short sale. You get involved in a lot of short sale. Just let's give us the ins and outs of what a short sale is all about.
Okay. And Bernie, thank you for the kind words, first of all. I really appreciate it.
They're all true. They're all true.
Well, the feeling is mutual. You are wonderful. On a short sale, I don't even know if everybody knows what a short sale is. For people that owe more on their home than what it's currently worth on the market, let's say they owe $500,000 on the house and it's gone down in value because of the real estate downturn to $300,000. That $200,000, what do we do with it? Most people don't have enough money to sell their house for $300 and give the bank $200.
Right.
So they started this process where people can sell their house for $300, and if it is your primary residence, the bank in most cases will eat the difference between what it's sold for and what's owed. Now, there is a lot of requirements, but one main requirement is you have to have a legitimate hardship. You can't be somebody with an income that can afford your payment and have $1 million in the bank. A hardship would be, there's lots of possibilities, but some examples are unemployment, divorce, illness, job relocation. That's just a few examples that would be legitimate reasons that you can no longer continue to live in your house and make the payment.
Right. And what are the mechanics of it? You have to find a buyer. Is that correct?
Yes. The first thing that I would do is meet with someone, view their property, give them a free analysis of what the property is worth, and then I sit down and talk to them like you and I are talking, doing a basic survey of their entire life and their financial situation. Okay. Doing a short sale is a lot like getting a loan in reverse. You basically have to provide the bank the same information you did when you got the loan. So I sit down and help people go through that process too. They want 2 months bank statements, 2 years tax returns, 2 pay stubs, and a financial statement showing that matches the bank statements closely of the money you have coming in every month and the money going out.
Yeah, it would be absolutely ridiculous to not have this analysis. And now let me explain my thoughts. That if you have a seller that wants to do a short sale and you have a real estate person representing them, so they go out and find a buyer, and then during the course of the negotiation with the lending institution, you find out that this guy has equity in an apartment building and has money in the bank and a savings account and so forth. Now, you have just created a lot of problems for the buyer and the buyer's representative and yourself in terms of why did we waste our time? Because they're not going to do a short sale. So what you talk about, a free analysis, which is really a godsend for the person, because then you're not tying up the system unnecessarily. And then what you're also doing is you're telling them you're not going to, this is not going to happen. I suspect that. So let's say they qualify. What's the next step?
Okay. The next step then is we list their house, and it goes through pretty much the same process as selling a house on a regular sale.
Okay. Until
we get the offer. And once we get the offer, that's when we have to present all of this financial information to the bank. Most of our files are way over 100 pages thick of what we present to the bank.
Right.
Then my staff and I follow up at least 3 times a week with the bank to make sure that they have all of these papers in their system and that they are in process of processing this. To process a short sale takes 3 to 7 months because of all the different levels we go through. As we try to make it as hassle-free as possible for the buyer and the seller, we do most of the work, but we keep them updated as we go through the process.
All you have to do is watch House Hunters on television and find out that the real estate people say this is a short sale and it's going to take a long while for it. Okay, so when it goes through, which what we call a novation. In other words, it's a new contract so that the amount that is still owed on the mortgage, basically the new contract says we will not sue you for this balance because this new contract is for this amount. Okay?
That is correct.
Right.
And we are very fortunate in the state of California, and they have just renewed this law for 2013,
Right.
that if it's your primary residence, you are not liable for taxes on the negative amount in most situations, unless you surpass a loss of $250,000 single, $500,000
Right.
married, as you
Right.
know, and that's your area of expertise,
Right.
Bernie.
Right.
Now, I think what you were going to talk about was the situation with people selling second homes and investment properties. That's a little more complicated.
That creates a problem, because what happens is that if there is a foreclosure, for instance, or even a short sale, the lending institution can issue something called a 1099-A or a 1099-C, which has tax consequences to it. And the tax consequence, obviously, Brian Bauer from our firm knows how to deal with those issues of 1099-A and 1099-Cs. And there's a special Internal Revenue Code section 108 that says even though you get issued a 1099-C, it becomes income. If you qualify under Section 108, it doesn't. And there's a special form called a 982. We do this all the time. What I wanted to talk about also is, and keeping property. Keeping property is something that, as a lawyer, I can go into this area, and it's very interesting. Let's say hypothetically that a person needs to go into a Chapter 7 bankruptcy to eliminate credit cards and so forth. And let's say they're upside down in the house, and they go into Chapter 7. The second trust deed holder has no equity in the house because they're upside down. The personal obligation for that second trust deed or equity line is extinguished. So the lien may stay on the property, but they don't have to pay the money back. If they go into a Chapter 13, let's say for non-discharged debts like taxes or alimony or arrearages or child support arrearages, normally the court says even though the second trust deed equity line of credit and everything is discharged personally, you have to account for it in the Chapter 13 and pay it back on a percentage basis. Well, there's a new concept going on that seems to be being endorsed by the court and saying, we're going to take that amount of money and we're going to put it into a miscellaneous category that you don't have to list it down as being payback. Now, the problem is when you sell the house, that lien will come up, but then you say, look, I'll give you $5,000 to lift the lien. The other one is something called a 506 motion, which reduces the second trust deed. Like if you have $30,000, you put it in your Chapter 13, and then you pay it back over a 5-year period, a little bit of money. So, folks, Lori Bowers has been with us today. We learned a lot about loan modifications, principal reduction, foreclosure, keeping your property or short sale, stuff that you have never heard before. And Lori, I want to thank you so much. And if they would need to get in touch with you, how do the folks out there get in touch with you?
Okay, I have a website, LoriBowers.com. You can call me 7 days a week on my cell phone, 760-831-1595. And thank you, Bernie. It's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you.